A long time ago, on a comics page far, far away. Greetings and welcome to May the Panel Be With You, the Star Wars comic book show brought to you by the Punch Up Entertainment Network. I'm your humble host, Mike Gargoni, and joining me as always, the Dash Rendar to my Lebo, it's John Campbell.
Hello, everybody. Oh, man. It's dash time, folks.
Oh, we dashing through Shadows of the Empire now.
Dashing, man. It's true.
Yeah, welcome back to our second episode of our Shadows of the Empire coverage. We're deep into the middle of the timeline between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. We're also deep into the middle of the 90s, that time when Star Wars was basically everything but the movie.
Yeah. And this is exactly that. This is the fullest encapsulation of that moment.
Yeah, Shadows of the Empire, when all of the vast powers around Lucasfilm, LucasArts, and Bantam Publishing and Dark Horse Comics got together and said, what if we ourselves made a Star Wars, regardless of film or feature?
We don't need a movie to do movie marketing.
And they kind of proved they didn't, because like most of the things involved here were successful to one extent or another.
I can't believe we haven't figured that out again. Like, I can't, in today's world of franchises and stuff, I can't believe somebody else hasn't tried to do this again.
Well, they have, and I think the most recent example of that is with Star Wars, and that is the High Republic Initiative.
Yes, that, yeah, which is the smart, I would say maybe the smarter thing that they're doing with that now is they sort of use that as a testing ground for movies, because obviously now we have a High Republic set show, but they started in the books and comics, which are lower risk. Like if those books didn't sell, they could just stop the books and they didn't invest a ton.
Sure, and then they continued that in the video games with Jedi Survivor was a lot of High Republic stuff as well.
Yep. Yeah, they just sort of, it's that I think is the better version of this, where they just sort of started like building a thing, and then they've just sort of grown it naturally, along with people going like, hey, we like this, and they're going like, okay, we like this, well, there's novels, and then there's comics, and there's a video game, and there's a show, I'm sure be a movie,
There might just be, yeah.
I mean, it's what KOTOR never turned into fully. It got a little bit like that, but there was no place for it to go, because there wasn't going to be a KOTOR movie,
Right, and like Knights of the Old Republic, the game, the BioWare game itself, was such a singular thing that then other media franchises were like, oh, well, people really like that, so we're going to incorporate elements of it. It was not a concerted initiative in the same way that Shadows of the Empire or the High Republic has been.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the High Republic is like an engineered KOTOR.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
It almost took what Shadows of the Empire did and what KOTOR ended up doing and kind of combined them. We also talked about attempts to do things like Force Unleashed. There have been attempts, but it's interesting to see that there. I think there's a lesson in that. I actually in some ways think High Republic was almost them wanting to do what Marvel just did naturally and having all these comics to pull from. They already have that. We don't really have that at Star Wars. What if we kind of created that for ourselves, though?
Yeah, and so far so good, at least in my opinion. And I've read quite a bit of the High Republic stuff, and for the most part, it's all ranged from like, it's okay, to pretty freaking great.
Yeah, I mean, you've read a lot more than I have, but I certainly have enjoyed what I have consumed, and I really like the Acolyte quite a bit.
Yes, indeed.
What you heard, because that was now months ago, I'm sure.
Due to podcast time travel, our review for that has not encapsulated itself for us, but for you, you've already at least probably experienced it.
I hope you loved our review of it. Anyway,
let's get back into Shadows of the Empire, because today we're covering issue number 2 of 6 of the Shadows of the Empire comic book series put out by Dark Horse Comics, though we are, of course, reading it on the Marvel Unlimited app, so all of the Dark Horse imagery has been scourged from it.
I love the way that they just blacked out the Dark Horse logo and slapped a Marvel on the cover. Whoosh. Now it's Marvel. And it was always Marvel, and I will not hear anything else.
This issue came out in June of 1996. Because, all of this Shadows of the Empire stuff came out within one calendar year of each other.
Yes.
And that was the big push, right?
Yeah.
Because we had the soundtrack, the video game, the comic book, the novel, all of it's coming out around the same time.
I can't believe you went through the whole first thing without bringing up the role-playing game.
So, we want to talk about the role-playing game. Okay, John, is that what you're doing to me right now?
Well, I'm just saying, I have a list here of what I looked up of all the attached things, and yes, I do see there was a role-playing game.
I believe there was a role-playing game supplement that was made for specifically. It was like a source book made for the West End Games RPG, which the West End Games is like the big original, not the original, but the bigger Star Wars RPG that gave us like a lot of backstory stuff that was then later incorporated into the franchise as a whole.
Okay. I will say the Wikipedia doesn't talk much about the role-playing game.
Well, again, the role-playing game is just a source book for the larger West End game, Star Wars, the role-playing game. This particular book had a lot of stuff that basically just gave you Shadows of the Empire stuff to play with in your game, like Black Sun, Prince Xizor, Guri, his assistant, and a bunch of the Black Sun. They're called Vigos in the novel. They're like the underlords of Black Sun.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There you go. And then, of course, we did talk a little bit about the toys, which I had some of the figures. And I do remember, oh, boy, if you were a 90s kid, and I had a lot of these micro machines.
Oh, something I didn't talk about last time is how these comic was released, because obviously we had the singular issues of this book, but also chunks of it, and specifically chunks from this issue, were released across a lot of the toy lines as well. And I believe the Micro Machines specifically had bits of this issue that were the Battle of Gaul.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I did a little bit of reading on where chunks of this comic showed up, because I remembered bits of this issue independent of reading this issue, because I got them included in some of the toys.
Interesting. Yeah. The media tie-ins on this, they were ahead of their time in a lot of ways.
I think they were exactly in their time, and they were testing the waters for what was to come in terms of the production rollout for the prequels later.
Oh, well, because we were there for that. Jesus Christ, when those prequels came out, you couldn't. No one was unaware of those by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, Shadows of the Empire didn't quite get to the point of Star Wars the Coke can, but it was definitely on its way.
Boy, I had a lot of those.
Was it Coke or Pepsi first?
It was Pepsi.
One? It was Pepsi. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was like, Mom, I don't have Mace Windu yet. I have to get Mace Windu. I remember I'm like, oh, we have to buy brisk iced tea because Obi-Wan Kenobi's on the can.
Well, you want to talk about characters who are going to end up merchandisable. Let's talk about the cover of this issue.
I love this cover. I want a print of this. This rules. It is such a spaghetti western poster. This is Boba Fett as Man with No Name, right?
Yeah, we have another Hugh Fleming cover here doing superlative work as we have Boba Fett surrounded by a bunch of weirdos in a cantina with Bosk and Zuckuss in the background.
You can basically, on any of this Dark Horse stuff we do, if Hugh Fleming's doing the covers, he's the MVP. We love what Hugh Fleming does. God, his stuff is gorgeous. And this is the dream of the '90s Star Wars kid fan, right?
We got bounty hunters.
Bounty hunters fighting.
We've got cantina aliens. We've got Boba Fett. What else do you want?
Yep.
We've got a lot of the same creative team as we had.
Bartender? Is that what that guy back there is?
Yeah, who knows? Because let's get to this first page. We got the same creative team as we had before. John Wagner on writing.
Yep.
Killian Plunkett on pencils. P. Craig Russell on inks. Colors by Carrie Porter. Color separations by Heroic Age Colors, which is one of those like coloring co-op houses.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of them.
Can I show my ignorance here? I don't know what color separations mean.
So we're in that age where a lot of the...
We're not doing digital, obviously, yet. So
not quite yet, but we're approaching it to the point where it's like, I believe the colors are like a separate layer that you can apply digitally at this point. Again, maybe speaking to my own ignorance as well.
Yeah.
But at least in like comic book industries of this age, you have these like houses for like coloring and lettering that will sometimes like take jobs from the smaller companies.
Color separation. I'm looking at each page of a different. Oh, this is interesting. Keep talking. We'll keep going, but I'm gonna continue to look at this.
But editors, we've got Pete Janes and Ryder Wyndham. Ryder Wyndham is another name I don't think we really spotted in the last issue, but should maybe highlight a little bit. He was like the Star Wars guy at Dark Horse. He was one of the big editors of Star Wars stuff in the early Dark Horse days.
Okay, and you're right. It's a printing thing, like you were saying. Oh, they talked about you could color it, but then each page of a given comic would be color separated into 4 sheets of film for printing, each one corresponding to one of the primary colors. In this case, being magenta, yellow, cyan, and black, which is the comic book primary colors. So basically, you could color it, but in terms of the printing process, you had to layer primary. That sounds needlessly complicated.
Well, and we were, again, not quite digital yet, and it would become even more complicated when we got to that.
Sorry, now I shouldn't have said anything, because now I'm down a rabbit hole. A guy has the color separations for some amazing Spider-Man issues, and they're very weird. They're very weird to look at. Well, anyway, yeah, sorry.
That's okay. We're gonna get right to the action, though, because right off the bat, we've got Darth Vader fighting a droid.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, man.
He is... We get a little bit more of this in the novel itself, that, like, Vader is coming off of his fight on Bespin, and he's trying to, like, get back up to steam, because despite the fact that he basically kicked Luke Skywalker's ass, there were a couple of lucky strikes that Luke got in.
I do like that idea, but it's not enough to win. If it's not domination with this guy, then he's like, I gotta get back into training. I'm really out of shape.
It's a whole chunk in a chapter that's like Vader basically being like, I paid like 1 million credits for each of these droids. I've butchered 6 of the 12 I've gotten so far.
That's pretty rad. We were talking about Boba Fett being unhinged in the last issue. This is a Vader who's spiraling.
Well, look, he's got a lot on his mind right now. His kid's out there doing who knows what. His boss is breathing down his neck, and this guy from a rival company is now edging in on his spot.
But thank God he has his best pal, Jix.
Okay, let's talk about Jix. Jix.
Oh God, it's the Jix in the room, folks.
The Jix in the room here. What if Darth Vader had his own Han Solo?
Yeah, I know. It's reading about the history of this. We talked about how Dash Rendar was created as the Han Solo fill-in, but then it just feels like, hey, publishers, you want a Han Solo fill-in? How do you feel about 2 Han Solo fill-ins?
Well, because Dash Rendar is firmly in the video game. We need another character who can be just in the comics, and that is our boy Jix.
Oh God! But I love that. We mentioned the Poochie episode on the last episode of The Simpsons. Jix feels like, if you remember the Poochie episode beyond the Poochie stuff, do you remember the character of Roy in that? The joke that there's just a cool roommate who's been living in the Simpsons house and everyone acts like they know him? That's what I feel Jix is like here. He's like, oh, hi, Jix. And he's like, yeah, I'm about to move in with 2 sexy ladies. You know?
It's what is it? Jack Black in that episode of Community.
Yeah. I was there the whole time. He was just on the other side of the classroom. Because it's just like the way he comes into this is we've got Darth Vader and they just is like, oh, hello, Jix. And you're like, wait, I'm sorry. Are we supposed to know who this guy is?
And he's being like weirdly flippant with Vader. And you're just like,
yeah.
For a character who just got introduced on this page, you're not allowed to try to be this cool.
No, and Vader's kind of cool with it. Like by Vader standards, he's very cool with it, and he's just like, you know what I like about Jix? He's the only one who tells me like it is.
By Vader standards, by which you mean he lets him live.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But he's just like, that Jix irks me, but he's a real straight shooter.
Because, yeah, he tells Jix, stand to attention in my presence, Jix. You're not one of your seedy dives. We're not in one of your seedy dives now.
I can't fathom Darth Vader putting up with this guy. Like,
and on the next page, because Jix says apologies, and Darth Vader comes in and says, if you wish to prosper in my employ, learn to keep a respectful tongue, as he starts to force choke him.
Yeah. I said sorry. Now you mean it. I mean, that's pretty cool, Vader. But I just like, what is this guy? What does Vader need some just like dirty layabout around here?
Also, where did he meet this guy?
Yeah.
Under what circumstances did Vader meet this like weird like scumbag?
Well, after I was in a pretty low place after fighting my son almost to the death. So I was hitting the bars pretty hard, and I fell in with some riffraff.
Jix tried to hustle Vader at pool? Yeah. Like, what happened?
Son of a bitch. You know what? But you pissed me off, but I like your moxie, kid. Have a job. Like, the Jix is, of all the, Dash Rendar is whatever. Jix is my problem here. I got huge problems with Jix.
Well, look, if Xizor needs some cat's paws to play with, Vader needs to... And here's the problem with this book as opposed to the novel. The novel definitely paints the like rivalry between Vader and Xizor as kind of one-sided. Like, Xizor like is consumed with defeating Darth Vader, and Darth Vader's like, this guy's annoying, and I've got bigger things to worry about.
Which is, I love that. That's how it should be played. Like, yeah. It's just like, that guy's not on his radar, but for Xizor, it's his whole life is undoing the top guy. And yeah. Vader's just like, who? Oh, yeah, that guy.
But in this, it's this battle of manipulation and these, like, plans spiraling around plans. So Vader needs some minions to go send out to do stuff.
Well, the other thing about this, too, is it does sort of feel like because of the Dark Horse comic and the way they're, as we talked about, they're really putting the focus on the Boba Fett side of it. They're like, well, obviously Vader's not going to fight Boba Fett, so he needs an agent to be doing his bidding in the Boba Fett plot.
You say obviously Vader's not going to fight Boba Fett until the Dark Horse comic like a year later, which Vader fights Boba Fett.
In this, I should say, in this story, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to sell books here. Let's not get crazy. But it is sort of, it does feel like it's like, well, we can't get Vader there. So what if Vader had his own Han Solo? What if Vader had his own, Boba Fett or whatever? I will say, when you see this close up at the bottom here of Jix, he does look like a goth Harrison Ford.
Oh, totally. And he's got like an evil ponytail to go with it all. Yeah.
He looks awful. He's a terrible character. And you're telling me Jix is not in the book?
No, he is not.
Well, that adds up then.
What Jix ends up doing is in the book, so it could be read that like, oh, you can identify Jix in the novel, but his name is never said, and like this scene isn't in the book. I
just like the idea though that they're just like, perfect, our opportunity to add our own character to this. His name is Jix.
Jix, for those wondering.
Jix, man. Oh, yeah. Well, of course. Hey, it's 1996. You better believe there's an X in this.
So we're calling him Jix. It could be something else.
It's Jish, because it's like a Xizor, right?
Well, no, because just the X by itself isn't necessarily a zh sound. It's more of a z sound.
Yeah, his name is... Oh, well, his name shouldn't be... Better not be that.
Well, that's a genre of music, so it can't be that.
No, yeah, of course not. Oh, boy. All right, let's move on. He's terrible.
Anyway, Darth Vader is saying, hey, you got to go to Tatooine, because I don't trust Jabba the Hutt to deliver... I don't know. So he thinks that Jabba the Hutt is where Luke Skywalker is going to go to rescue Han Solo.
Yeah,
But the Hutt can't be trusted to carry out my bidding. I require an agent of mine in his camp.
Yeah.
It seems to imply here that Darth Vader has said to Jabba the Hutt at some point, hey, this kid might show up. Could you catch him for me? Yeah. That has not been established in this book or any book.
The machinations of these villains. They consistently disappoint me.
So Jix is like, so you need me to go work for him? Okay, I've had worse bosses, I guess, as he stares at Darth Vader.
So I go work for the fat guy.
Let's body shame Jabba the Hutt. Okay, sure.
And that guy is fucking huge, man.
Look, all Hutts are like that. We cannot be judgmental.
All right, look, he's not the best guy, but come on, that's just the shape of his body, all right? He can't control that.
Have you met Zero the Hutt? There are worse Hutts out there.
Yeah, there are way more annoying Hutts. Pray I don't send you to one of them. Yeah.
So Vader, still cutting through droids, is like, look, get in there. Join one of his swoop gangs. Swoop gangs, they're going to be huge. I promise you.
It'll be a big deal. There's going to be so many toys. Lucasfilm told me to mention swoop gangs.
By all accounts, they are an undisciplined, foul-mannered band of renegades and criminals. Yeah. You should find many like minds.
Yeah, but also kind of rad. Oh, boy.
So he is basically telling Jix, hang out with these baddies, and when Luke Skywalker shows up, you tell me.
Yeah. Just, like, keep an eye out, man. Can you go on a stakeout for me?
But also, if Skywalker dies, then you die.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, because that's the thing where it's like, why don't I just kill this guy? No. I will not have it. All right?
Do not fail me.
I do like just the smoking wreckage of this droid he was fighting.
Well, look, he's got to limber up, right? What better way than to chop up a droid?
Here's another thing that he's like, I know you, Jix. Do you? We've known each other a long time, pal. Really?
This relationship goes back to college.
Yeah. Look, I always dad a favor, so I said I'd get him a job, and just, it's a whole thing. Yeah, I would love it if this vibe is a guy who's actually super rich, and this is just how he lives his life. He's just an asshole.
This is just the vibe he goes for.
Yeah. I live in the moment, Dad.
Ugh.
Oh, Christ. All right, so let's go back to the aforementioned Xizor.
Yeah, Xizor and Guri, they're hanging out, and he's looking sexy, draped in robes, and sitting on a weird pyramid chair.
He's like he's not religious, but he's spiritual, so he's meditating.
Yeah.
That's 100% this guy's vibe, by the way.
He's in the middle of visualizing right now, John.
Yeah. You got to see it. If you want it, you got to see it to get it.
And he's talking about how they've just promised the Empire 300 ships for that weird little project they've got over on, what's this planet called? Endor?
Yeah, that's gonna be big, man. That could be big for him.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Giru, this could be big, okay? We're talking big business.
But he asks her if she's contacted those bounty hunters, and she's like, yes, however, there may be unnecessary. Boba Fett's ship has been sighted on Gaul.
Gaul, you say?
And Xizor, of course, is plotting the death of Luke Skywalker. His whole plan here, and is actually not really established in this book all that much.
Yeah, what is his deal with Luke Skywalker, other than obviously just enemy of the Empire?
He's way more laid out in the novel, is that his plan is to get Luke Skywalker killed, but make it look like Darth Vader's the one who kills him, so that the Emperor thinks that he's going back on his word to bring in Luke alive.
Got it.
So Xizor's whole thing is to undermine Vader's relationship with Palpatine, so that he can kind of step in as the number 2 hench dude for the Emperor.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean that. Okay. Yeah, that's fine, I guess.
Yeah. And again, in the novel, they go into way more. It's like, oh, well, if the Emperor, like, gets closer ties with Black Sun, this crime syndicate that Xizor is running, then once they entangle that relationship more, there'll be no getting out of it for the Emperor because he relies so much on their resources.
That's all certainly, because in the comic, he definitely reads as like bad guy wants to kill Luke Skywalker because Luke Skywalker's the good guy.
You mentioned Ming the Merciless last episode, and I think he reads way more in that realm of like space baddie in this book specifically.
Yeah. Just sort of like, once again, he's the bad guy who wants to kill Luke because Luke is the good guy. That's about as much of the motivations as you have there in this comic.
In the video game, it's even more like removed because you just get like a couple of cutscenes of him going, "I'm scheming evil things." Cut back to Dash Rendar doing whatever he's doing.
And I'm evil. I'll be over here being evil.
Like, you don't even interact with him in the video game ever.
Well, no, because if you're playing as Dash Rendar, why would he ever? I didn't give a shit about Dash Rendar. Why would he? I don't give a shit about Dash Rendar.
Oh, poor Dash Rendar.
Sorry. I mean, hey, I'll give you this. I care about him a hell of a lot more than I care about Jix.
Well, and look, we all know that Dash Rendar pales in comparison to the true secondary protagonist of Star Wars, Kyle Katarn.
Well, yes, obviously, the best. Oh, boy. All right. So, he's feeling pretty good right now, Xizor, because he goes, if Luke Skywalker acts true to his form, his death is assured, with enough clues left behind to implicate the Empire.
Well, yeah, no shit. Who else is going to kill Luke Skywalker?
It's all, yeah, they'll immediately blame the people with all the motive to kill him. What?
Because let's cut to the Battle of Gaul.
Who are you? Yeah. All right, here we go. It's Gaul time.
Yeah.
Gaul. Dead ahead.
So, again, we've been tracking this story sort of non-linearly in this comic. I will fill in some details here because we're coming in on Gaul, and we've got Rogue Squadron here. We've got the Millennium Falcon, and we've got the Outrider, which is, we bought the Millennium Falcon on Wish.com.
Yeah. Hey, man, we got to sell more toys, though.
Yeah, and what better way to do that than to have a ship that is functionally the same as the Millennium Falcon, but slightly less cool.
Kind of the whole Shadows of the Empire thing, though, right? Like, it's all just sort of variations on things that people know. We can't really take too many big stabs at new stuff.
Mm-hmm. But they're coming here because this is where Boba Fett went to after he got defeated in orbit around Tatooine. He's come here to lick his wounds, and so they know that Boba Fett has Han Solo. They're here to save Han Solo.
Yeah. And we've got Lando still in his Han Solo cosplay from the end of Empire.
Yeah, as we come into the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, we get basically filled in here between dialogue between Leia and Lando about... In these, like, 3 panels here, in the dialogue that they're filling in here, is, like, 4 chapters in the book.
Of course. And some stuff happened.
Because we have Lando getting in touch with Dash Rendar. We get Lando filling in everybody about, like, basically finding out where Boba Fett is, and by extension, Han Solo. Then them meeting up with Rogue Squadron and concocting this plan to go in there where Rogue Squadron's going to distract the local garrison while Dash Rendar leads the Millennium Falcon in on this, like, really low altitude, almost like suicide mission-esque, where they're going to fly in under the radar and find Slave One.
And all that is reduced to, Fett was on his way to deliver Han to Jabba when another bounty hunter attempted a little smash and grab. Love that that's a term that would be thrown around in Star Wars. Fett's ship Slave One, as you know, buy your toys now, was badly damaged. The safest place to make repairs was the Imperial Enclave on Gaul, it being heavily fortified. There, you're all caught up now.
And then Leia says, so while Luke and Rogue Squadron draw out the opposition, we sneak in the back way to find Slave One and take Han.
Except none of that will happen because the rescue of Han will be in the next movie.
Exactly. There's already a little bit of deflating of this whole sequence because you know it can't succeed, right?
Yes. It's that is sort of that is kind of the thing that the weirdest part of Shadows of the Empire to me in general is that it is inherently, like it can only go so many places. It's inherently limited by being set between these two movies.
But that can be a storytelling strength when you know where it's going, right? One of our complaints about the in-between stories of the comics we've been reading back in the 80s is they have no idea where Star Wars is going, so they have to remain in a holding pattern. This story knows where things end, so it can tell a more cohesive story. This one sort of is choosing not to, which is another problem.
The thing about it, though, is you're right on that, but the thing that's weird about it is it being like the new big Star Wars story. The idea of putting this much weight on what is essentially a fill-in story is what's kind of weird to me. That's what's weird about it. And it doesn't have the most popular character.
Well, the choice to make Han Solo the MacGuffin of this story is a strange one, simply due to the fact that you know where that MacGuffin ends up. By choosing that, as opposed to any other, like, plot.
Right, if you had just had, like, also Leia and Luke had this adventure in between the two, that'd be one thing. But yes, they have, like you're saying, it can be a strength, but they have weirdly shackled themselves from concept.
Right. And one of the strengths of this story is eventually where the story will lead is them basically finding the plans to the second Death Star. And there's this whole plot in the novel involving the Bothans. Many Bothans died, as we know. And so, like, that's cool. That's a cool little intricacy that, like, okay, that's how they get the plans in Jedi, is there's this whole thing that happens. We don't necessarily know that from just watching the movie, and there's a cool story to be told there. But if you're presenting the story of, oh, they're trying to get Han Solo, we know that they fail in gathering Han Solo. So that is inherently deflating to, like, the tension of this story.
There's just a lot of weird choices. There's a lot of weird bad, and I would say objectively bad choices in concept, not necessarily in how it's being written, but just like, why would you hamper your writing like that? Anyway.
Well, because it also explains why we can include Lando and Chewie if the MacGuffin is Han Solo, right? Because otherwise, why wouldn't they just be not in this story?
It's all there's a lot of weird choices. Anyway. Rogue Squad, everybody's coming to Gaul. Here we go, everybody, including, let's turn the page. Oh, that rascal Dash Rendar.
Oh, Dash Rendar. Okay, let's get into Dash Rendar here.
Yeah.
He's barely in this book. He's the main character of the video game. He is a Han Solo if you, like, squint from a distance.
I mean, that is the thing where it's like he's Uncanny Valley Han Solo, right? Where it's like they've made him so similar that the fact that it's like one of those things where it's like you go like, now I'm angrier than if he just was totally different than Han Solo.
He is.
What are you doing here?
In the video game, let's see. This part specifically takes place in, like, part 2-ish of the video game. So in the video game, so you know how in the first issue IG-88 ambushes Boba Fett and sends him running.
Right.
In the video game, to figure out that Boba Fett has run to Gaul, Dash Rendar hunts down IG-88 and beats that information out of him.
Beats that information out?
I mean, no. What happens is
get that droid working over, man. He got.
I mean, he does. He's a full he's a full boss fight in that game. But specifically, IG-88 has, like, a hilarious bit of dialogue in that boss fight, being like, "Well, since I am going to kill you anyway, I might as well tell you everything that's happening."
That's right. You mentioned this, yeah.
So, to lead the rebels to Gaul, there is a level in the video game explaining why Dash Rendar knows where he's going.
Okay.
And so, like, part 2, because the video game is split into 4 parts. Part 2 of the video game is him tracking down IG-88, and then him coming to this planet before this event to, like, to find a way into the base to track down Boba Fett.
Okay.
And then in the video game specifically, there's a hard cut that says, and then Boba Fett got away. And that's what's happening here.
Great. Okay. I just love that you're like, okay, they really are going like, oh, you get the full story. You got to do all of the stuff, man.
Yeah. Whereas in the novel, we stick with Luke and Leia, and they meet up with Rogue Squadron, and Rogue Squadron's like, well, it's going to be a tough nut to crack.
You just stick with the main characters of Star Wars? What a bold decision.
I know, shocking. But then in the novel, you get the thing where it's like, they're like, oh, well, how are we going to get onto this planet? Who told us even to come here? And Lando's like, well, I know a guy. And that's when Dash Rendar strolls in.
Well, because we have Leia say here, I can't say I'm happy about putting our fate in the hands of a mercenary like Dash Rendar. And then Lando goes, Dash? He's okay. He's no friend of the Empire anyway. And he did give a good account of himself for the Alliance on Hoth. We used to do a little smuggling in the old days. Guess Dash never... He's just like, he was like Han and I, but even more of a bastard.
Well, and in the book, they go into this...
Yeah.
This whole intricate backstory of his in which, like, he comes from this super wealthy family that was banished by the Emperor because one of Dash's brothers accidentally smashed a car into, like, one of the Emperor's favorite museums. So their whole family was stripped of their wealth and banished out of the Empire.
Okay, interesting.
And Dash was, like, in the Imperial Academy when this happened, and so he got kicked out and had to go smuggler.
Okay. But I just like the idea about, like, well, Han and I have put that past behind us. This guy's still doing it, though. So, he's one scampy dude. That's all I know.
Yeah. So he's got all the confidence in the world. He's a snarky bastard. And in the video game, at least, he has a droid sidekick named Lebo.
Who is not in the comic.
Is not in the comic at all. And he's barely mentioned in the
But anyway, let's check in with everybody's favorite character, Boba Fett.
Yeah, meanwhile, Boba Fett. He's in a cantina somewhere.
Top-selling action figure, Boba Fett.
with the two action figures right behind him, it's Zuckuss and Bosk.
Oh yeah, he's talking to Zuckuss and Bosk. And get to the point, Zuckuss. I have to get back to monologuing to Han Solo.
What Bosk means is, it's a big reward. There's plenty for everyone. We're all in the same business, Fett. Think how much easier it would be if we worked together. Shared responsibility. Meanwhile, we see a figure in the shadows with a gun pointed at Boba Fett's back.
Yeah, who's this?
Nobody, because he's dead on the next page.
It's a very, in fact, actually, it's quite literally, and I have to imagine this is a reference to it. Nobody else picked up on this. This is exactly a moment from the movie Rio Bravo where
totally.
Dean Martin. Do you actually know what I'm talking about?
No, of course not.
Yeah, all right. Dean Martin shoots a guy who's about to shoot him from the upper rafters like this in a saloon in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a thing where a guy's up there and he just turns and gets him like that. So,
does he say "think again"?
No, I don't think he says anything. But no. But that whole thing in that movie is everybody thinks Dean Martin's a drunk who's no good with a gun anymore. But then, of course.
But why would you ever make that assumption about rambling maniac Boba Fett?
So you want to cut yourselves in on the bounty? Think again.
And yeah.
Bazat!
Shoots. We see the smoking corpse of this guy falling behind him as Boba Fett... Apparently, Boba Fett's ship is very talkative.
Yeah, I don't remember Slave One having this much of a voice in anything, but
No,
okay.
it doesn't.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Slave One. I'm popular toy set Slave One.
Now available at Sears.
Yeah. Jesus. I mean, you can really feel the selling of toys in this comic.
Oh, for sure. Look, for every, like, new ship or character, there's like, well, we know Boba Fett sells. We know all the bounty hunters sell.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Larry Hama G.I. Joe levels of where it is just like, hold on, fellas, for this mission, you're going to need the Joe's newest vehicle, you know.
Because, yeah, we have Boba Fett's helmet ship saying, hey, someone's breaking into the ship. Yeah. So Boba Fett now, again, monologuing to himself, or is it more than that? A ploy to get me out of the way. You will detain me no longer.
And then he's like, eat table, Bosk.
Yeah, he flips the table on Bosk.
Oh, I didn't see that coming.
I like him just, like, casually fisting this guy in the face as he's making his way out the door.
He zunks him good, man.
Zunks him pretty good. But what's this? Something's going on as all these stormtroopers are rushing around outside.
And Boba Fett has to push his way past some Jawas.
Oh, look, there's always going to be Jawas scuttling around in an alley somewhere.
I will say, missed opportunity for word bubble. I could have just used a little Utini.
We can all use a little Lutini.
Yeah. There's our next shirt. We can all use a little Lutini. But we're out of there because we're back to space and a big old battle's happening. Pew, pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, 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 indeed. You know what's really cool in a video game called Star Wars? Some kind of big space battle, right?
Some kind of war in the stars.
Would it shock you to know that this sequence is not in the video game at all?
Why? Why would it not be? I just assumed it would be.
No.
Never.
No. Like I said, there is a long platforming sequence which involves Dash Rendar getting a jetpack and finding Slave 1, but then it hard cuts to a title screen saying, and then Boba Fett got away.
Great. Fucking great. Nice.
So yeah, we got Rogue Squadron fighting the hell out of these two Star Destroyers and a bunch of TIE Fighters.
Why is it's like this isn't in the video game because this is really a Rogue Squadron moment. Dash is not, so
yeah,
we can't have it.
We get a good chunk of this in the novel, and there's actually some really cool sequences in the novel of Luke basically like giving himself over to the Force to be like an ace fighter pilot.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's not here.
No, because we cut back to the ground.
Yeah, we just cut. I count 20. 30 enemy fighters coming out to me. Oh, no, we're out of here. Never mind.
Because we're back with Lando and the Falcon following. Yeah, and there's this whole sequence in the novel about how they have to fly like super low, and Lando's not the best pilot, so like everyone's getting super nervous. The fact that Lando's flying the ship here.
Yeah. I will say the comics and the old comics do too. They really shit on Lando's piloting ability. Like, I know he's not Han Solo, but he's good, isn't he?
He's okay.
Yeah, it seems like he's. I don't know. I mean, I'm still upset that he knocked the deflector dish off the Falcon and Jedi, but
yeah. But right as they're about to approach, what's this? Dash Rendar's a bastard, and he takes off.
Yeah, fucking Dash Rendar. What a piece of shit.
Look, Dash, I was paid to guide, not to shoot, and I don't take risks if I don't get paid for it.
What a dick.
Oh yeah, Dash Rendar's the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, he's no Jix, but he's not great.
What if Han Solo, but a huge asshole, basically is what Dash as a character is?
Do you know how the game ends, John?
I don't really know much about the game beyond I read what the broad strokes of each level was.
I played the hell out of the game. I had it for the N64.
I never had I had other Star Wars games.
Sure. I mean, we all had like the original like Rogue Squadron games and like
I was a big Rebel Assault guy, particularly
Rebel Assault, totally. Dark Forces was always my go-to.
Yeah, that's a good one too, yeah. But this one I kind of skipped.
Well, it definitely had mixed reviews. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my memory. Is like I remember it was sort of like, even as much as I love Star Wars, I feel like I don't need this one.
It was like, what if Ratchet and Clank was bad? Is kind of the Shadows of the Empire video game.
What a pitch! We dare make Ratchet and Clank a bad game.
A lot of the game is a third-person shooter with like platforming elements that are like extreme. I don't know if you know this. The N64 didn't have the best control scheme of any of the console controllers.
Yeah, I didn't. I personally didn't have an N64. My friend did. But yes, I do remember some of that.
Right. You remember how that controller is configured just for a human hand.
It's a very weird controller.
Now, what if you had that and then you were told, okay, now make this work for a mouse and keyboard?
Great. Yeah, I'm sure it went super well is the answer.
Yeah. Needless to say, like I said, Ratchet and Clank but bad is kind of the gist of how that game controls.
Long story short, it doesn't go well.
It doesn't go well. And again, modern today, functionally unplayable.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. Yeah.
But yeah, in this comic book, let's get back to it. Dash Rendar, huge jackass, takes off.
Yeah. Hey man, you didn't pay me for this. I'm out of here. See ya.
Meanwhile, they're
Leia's
getting
like,
jumped.
Doesn't matter. I don't have time to worry about that guy being an asshole.
Cut back to Boba Fett. Boba Fett's getting back to Slave One. There's some guys rubbing some goo on his carbonite boyfriend, and he's like, I'll have none of this.
I have some bad news for you, Forlorn. This is one bounty you won't collect.
As he shoots him in the chest.
Yeah. He just shoots Forlom right in the chest, point blank, which is pretty badass. As long as Boba Fett's not talking, he's pretty rad in this comic.
Unfortunately, he never stops talking.
Yeah, that's the only problem, is he's always talking.
So he's shooting some guys. He's clearing his ship. Meanwhile, up in space, the big battle's still happening. And then, something's going wrong.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, is this the most blaster fire we've ever seen on a... Look at all this.
Yeah.
The Force! I sense a threat!
They're trying to convey this moment that's from the book where Luke is like in the middle of this dogfight, and then something in the Force tells him, hold on, I need to dodge even though nobody is shooting at me. And he dodges right as one of the other X-Wings opens up on him.
Okay.
I think the comic does an okay job of that.
Well, I will say this is not amazing dialogue, though. The Force! I sense a threat! Is not great.
And then saying to himself, got to take evasive action.
It's the dialogue is hurting here.
So Rogue 6 has gone rogue.
Believe it or not, who would have thunk?
But he says, something's wrong with my computer, Luke. I can't take control of it. My ship is basically taking over.
Yep. What's going on? That's crazy.
So Luke is dodging left and right. Meanwhile, back with Boba Fett.
Yeah, back to where people really want to be, right? With the Fett Man.
As he says to nobody, clear that mess away.
Yeah, who is he talking? What?
No idea.
And then the ship is talking to him again. Rebel ship rapidly approaching. Your friends don't... The ship just talked to him. He's like, no, it's going right back to Solo. Your friends, no doubt. You're getting to be more trouble than you're worth, Solo. But you're not there yet because that face.
I just can't say no to you.
You know, I never thought you were a handsome man until I saw you in Carbonite. Now I get it.
So yeah, the Falcon's swooping in, but a bunch of TIE fighters get in the way.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
And they're hit. In the books, we have this awesome sequence in which Leia has to jump into the gunner's position. We get none of that in here.
We saw her very briefly in the gunner's position on a page before.
Yeah, but I just like Leia killing people.
Of course, we love it. And when the comics give us that a lot, which is cool. Except when she's sad about it.
Yeah, well, no time for sadness here because we cut back to space.
Yep.
Luke's dealing with this X-Wing pilot gone rogue, but he manages some fancy flying and he shoots out that other X-Wing's engines and astromech droid.
He fadams it.
He does fadam it. He fadams it pretty good.
Wes, apparently.
Oh yeah, it's Wes. Wes Jensen.
Yeah. You all right, Wes? Yeah, I'm barely a character, but that's okay.
Hey, he gets name dropped in Empire Strikes Back when Wedge says, "Hooah, good shot, Jensen."
There you go. I love the comics guys who just were like, oh, let me write that down. He said a name. We can use that. We can use it. That guy will be huge.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he is in the Rogue Squadron stuff.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I love that. I mean, Wedge is basically the ultimate example of that.
Absolutely.
Like, Wedge is around, but, gets a handful of lines here or there.
Yeah, they say his name twice in the whole trilogy.
Is this Wedge talking on this next page when he says this is a battle we can't win, Luke?
Yes.
Okay, he does. Well, no, yeah, it's got to be, though. I will say, in their helmets, they don't do a lot to differentiate Wedge and Luke.
No. And the only reason I know for sure it's him is because this exact dialogue is used in the novel.
In the book? Yeah. Because even when he says, I hope we bought Lando enough time. Okay, Wedge, give the order. That still doesn't necessarily mean that was Wedge who said that, but all right, yeah, I assume. Anyway, Rogue Squadron, cut and run.
Yeah, so
We're out, baby.
Rogue Squadron was just here to draw off the enemy forces. They did their job. Now they're getting out of here.
And so we turn the page. Slave 1 is lifting off, but oh no, the Falcon's in bad shape.
Yep, weapon systems are down. We've lost external communications. We can't even call Luke saying, "Hey, Boba Fett's about to get away."
Can't do anything. Boba Fett's getting away with his carbonite boyfriend, who used to be my boyfriend. Leia says.
Look, nothing will come between these two lovers.
Hi, you old news, sister. You had your chance.
Why don't we ask him which one they prefer?
Yeah.
Sounds like a whole lot of nothing to me.
Do you love Leia? Oh, he didn't say anything. How crazy are you, Boba Fett? Oh, very crazy. Yeah, I'm fucking nuts now. That's my character now.
You're asking the man who never takes off his mask, who just fell in love with a coffee table, if he's nuts.
By the way, I did see Steve Perry apparently has been saying they should adapt this into an animated movie. Disney, we're available to write this. We've got a lot of material, as you can tell right now. The script is going to crackle. I don't know. I don't know what representation this is, but if you guys are into representation, I'm just saying you have yet to have man loves slab of carbonite represented in your material. So that's got to be. There's got to be some community based around that, right?
And look, we know Tamora Morrison is a flexible actor. He could sell this.
I'm just saying, Emmys for Mr. Morrison, maybe. That guy's good. It's time to show it. You're not using enough of him, all right?
No.
All right. So everyone's back and bummed.
Yeah, we cut to the lunchroom of the Rebel base.
The mess hall. All right, everyone, meeting in the cafeteria. You ever hear that in Star Wars?
This is, again, a really cool scene in the novel that is just completely truncated here, where it's like, okay, in order to have this operation, the rebels had set up a secret base on a moon really close to the planet Gaul, and like it was a whole thing with Rogue Squadron, and they did like some fancy flying, and when they jumped to hyperspace to get away from that battle, they really only jumped to the other side of this moon, but tricked the Imperials into thinking they've gone farther.
Well, the weird thing about this comic, like we're saying, is, like we've been saying, is it is its own thing, but also is forced to truncate large sections of the novel to give some sort of through line.
So, like, in this line of dialogue here where Lando says Wedge was forced to blast the tech before we could get anything out of her, that's a scene in the novel where it's like, oh, who made this X-Wing malfunction? Well, of course, there was a traitor.
Right, yeah, that's the thing. It's just like, but that's all off screen. You're like, well, that sounds like an interesting scene. No time, because we've got to have Boba Fett monologuing. And
so here we get this weird bit of like mashed up continuity where Leia is saying, we think Darth Vader wanted Luke alive, but this could just as easily be the work of Black Sun. She makes this huge leap in logic here.
Yeah. Which we know is correct.
Which we know is correct, but is not in the novel. Leia does end up going to try to find some information from Black Sun, and which gets her tied into them, but it's not that they think that they're behind the like assassination attempts on Luke.
Because because then Lando's like, whoa, be careful, Black Sun is bad news, and she's like, if they're behind this plot, then I've got to. You're like, whoa, you're really like, yeah, I'm willing to put my life on the line for this hunch.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to keep saying this, but like in the novel, again, she's looking for information that might be able to be provided by Black Sun, not we think Black Sun is behind this.
There's our other t-shirt. It's just a cartoon of you with a word bubble and says, in the novel, ...
But in order to keep Luke safe, they're like, okay, Luke, you need to get off the table so that these people stop killing you. Go to Tatooine.
So that's what she said. She goes, you go to Tatooine because that's going to be where Boba Fett's taking Han anyway. So this will kill two birds with one stone basically. Mm-hmm. Well, let's go to Tatooine, my friends.
But stay out of Mos Eisley for the love of God.
because I'm so glad that Lobo finally got a part in Star Wars. That's all that really matters.
Here is the second character whose name, if mispronounced, could be...
You talking about Big Giz?
Big Giz.
Giz, baby.
Make sure you pronounce that hard G right at the front.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I said Lobo. This part is actually played by Randy Macho Man Savage, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Boys, I'm going to drink Mos Eisley dry.
I will say, when we're introduced to a character who power slides his speeder bike into punting a Jawa, I'm immediately endeared to this man.
It's the first time that the electric guitar really is needed in Star Wars.
We've got this swoop gang. So we cannot confuse swoops with speeder bikes. They're not the same thing.
They are not the same thing. Are swoops what they have in the Boba Fett show?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because that's immediately what this read as to me, of course.
Yeah, this is Star Wars biker gang. They're on swoops.
Yeah. Which I did not hate as much as some people did. I didn't mind the punk team.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, I thought it was totally fine.
The mod squad.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're all modified. Yeah.
But this is more like biker gangy. We've got these guys in like tattered coats and spiked vests and
I'll tell you who would actually play this in the animated thing? Ron Perlman.
Oh, 100%.
Perlman is Big Giz. Yeah, absolutely. That's who's playing this. Yeah. So he I do like, when he punts that Java, he goes, "Pardon me."
and the spike helmet guy, whose name is just Spiker, will learn.
Yeah.
Says, "Ride 'em, Giz."
Hey, some guy laid out Spiker. We got us a blood fest.
Because, who's this who laid out Spiker as somebody comes in to try to make a good impression on the swoop gang? Some goggled man with a ponytail riding in out of the sun.
This, by the way, we've now entered John Carpenter's Star Wars, right?
As we cut to, who's this? As Big Giz pulls a gun on Jix.
Did your mommy ever tell you we're gonna die sudden, pal?
The name's Jix. Remember it. Even if your pals nail me, it's gonna be the last name you hear.
Holy shit.
You got
a strong injection of testosterone into this book, man. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. He talks pretty big, don't he, boys? Rides a mean machine, too.
You make this thing cook, Pally?
Better than you bunch of amateurs, that's for sure.
So, now Big Giz and Jix. God, these names.
Giz and Jix. Didn't they have their own spinoff, The Adventures of Giz and Jix?
Well, here's the thing. Jix does get his own spinoff.
Oh, that shouldn't be. That's a huge fucking mistake. But
I think it's just a one-shot prequel.
It should be, because even that's too much if you ask me. But
we gotta wring blood from this stone, John.
It's a blood fest, sir.
They're having a swoop off.
Yeah. And so they say, "You and me, round them big dishes and back through the trestles." This guy saying trestles is very silly to me. You make it first, we settle for just breaking your bones.
Just the kind of stunt I'd expect from a big dumb lunk like you.
By the way, we're also, as you can tell, are available to voice these characters. Yeah. So get him, Jim. That, I imagine, is Will Forte. Get him.
So they take off. They go flying in their swoops. They go around these satellite dishes. Giz has got the speed, but Jix has got the talent.
He can drift, baby.
So they fly around these two satellite dishes, and it looks like Giz is going to get it, but what's this? Jix pulls his blaster.
You son of a bitch.
Fires at this dewback, making it rear up, making Giz fall off his swoop.
Yeah, he gets skirunged.
Gets scrunged pretty good, yeah.
I hate a skirung, you know, that those smart.
Jix is coming down and going, looks like I win.
Yeah, and then Giz's gang proceeds to beat the living shit out of him. With chains. By the way, very Star Wars that somebody just pulls out a chain and starts whipping a dude with it. Good lord.
Yeah, but what's this?
That was a dirty trick you pulled. And I like a man who's prepared to cheat to win.
So, through common bastardry, these two bond.
I mean, you got to give it to Jix. He read this situation exactly right. Oh, you'll find working for Jabba the Hutt real interesting. And then proceeds to show this is a black sun tattoo?
No, this is like a Jabba's gang tattoo.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an image I'm familiar with from Star Wars.
Yeah, it's a Jabba's crew sigil.
Then that's the end of the issue.
Yeah, so basically, Jix just got jumped into a biker gang.
Hell yeah, man.
And
I love
that's
the wild one in space, folks.
The issue just, like all the Dark Horse issues, just abruptly ends there.
Like, imagine all of a sudden the music in Star Wars sounds like that. So weird.
Because that is where we end off, and we are introduced to our Swoop gang here. They will be incredibly relevant next
Swoop
issue.
Gang, assemble!
And they are also involved in, I'll talk about it more next issue, but is like one of the most sickening video game levels I have ever seen and or played.
I'm excited to hear about that.
But yeah, that's issue number 2 of Shadows of the Empire. As before, I want to kind of like pace where we're at via both the book and the game.
To remind people, I believe after issue 1 we hadn't gotten to the book yet.
Correct. We're now into the book, definitely. And like a good like third of the way in is the Battle of Gaul. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of preamble in the book about like, okay, we start off on Tatooine with Luke contemplating like the whole thing with Vader being maybe his dad.
Right.
And there's a lot more like setup for the whole Battle of Gaul before we get there in the book. There's also way more Prince Xizor in the book and like his manipulations and the sniping back and forth between him and Vader. Like that's a way bigger part of the novel.
Gotcha.
And whereas this, it's not really here yet.
Right. No. No.
So the whole impetus of the plot of Shadows of the Empire is Xizor wanting to usurp Vader's number 2 status. And the fact that we don't even address that in the book, in the comic book, at all.
No, all we have here is that he's like, I'm going to kill Luke Skywalker, and it's going to look like the Empire did it.
And again, everything's sort of revolving around this MacGuffin hunt for Han Solo.
Right.
And so, yeah, this is the book that sort of really focuses on that, is the MacGuffin hunt specifically.
Yeah. Okay.
So
well, all right. Fair enough.
It's maybe kind of the weakest of the storylines going on, at least in my opinion. Obviously, the Dash Rendar of it all is the storyline that is just like so primarily Dash being cool in the video game.
Oh, yeah!
Which, again, from any other point of view, comes off as him being a jerk.
Oh, he's a huge asshole in this.
And he's a huge asshole in the novels.
Yeah, because he's just like, bye!
I am too cool for everybody.
And then he pulls out a guitar. He does feel like a character who would just slide a guitar.
And now Wonderwall.
Yeah. Well, if you want more of this content, everything on the Punch Up Entertainment Network, you can head over to why wouldn't you? Our Patreon page, which is patron.podbean.com/punchup. There you get, I said, cool exclusive bonus content as well as help out all the shows on the Punch Up Entertainment Network.
Yeah, one of the better ways to also help us out is come over to our YouTube page. Best way to watch this show, in my opinion, is over on our YouTube page, youtube.com/@punchupentertainment. There you can read along with us. You can also find YouTube exclusive shows like Punch Up Plays and Punch Up Goes to the Movies, where we talk about, you guessed it, movies.
We didn't exactly bury the lead with that title.
Well, and in Punch Up Plays, we were playing video games, wouldn't you know?
What? I wish you could play this, but as you
look,
can't.
The reason I know it's effectively unplayable, I tried. I really wanted to have a Punch Up Play series running concurrently with this coverage of me.
We will. Absolutely. And I will say, at some point, we will definitely get some Star Wars content on Punch Up Plays.
Oh, yeah. I've got plans.
That tie-in does itself. You know.
It's, that's spicy synergy.
Too good.
But while you're there, please like, comment, subscribe. Help us with that strange algorithm that we do not understand.
So mysterious.
So mysterious.
I don't think anyone does it. I think they're just pretending.
But I think that's going to do it for this week on May the Panel Be With You. I, of course, have been Mike Ergoni.
I'm John Campbell.
And as always, remember, may the panel be with you.